Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Thursday, October the 12th. And we're going to talk a little Texas Rangers today. Always love to do this, and especially with the Rangers in the position that they're in, playing the Astros in the LCS. Let me say hello to our great friend, Dave Michaels. Dave, you are absolutely at the right place at the right time to talk baseball. So it's great to have you.
Anytime that I can talk baseball is the best time and the best place. I mean, baseball is baseball. It is.
That's right. Now, I know it's an absolutely wonderful moment. Well, just quickly tell me about yourself, the radio show. Just give us a little update on your biography, if I could put it that way.
Sure. Thumbnail sketch. The first thing I'll tell you is that Silvio and I have known each other for a number of years. We worked in 2000 and I want to say 2007, 2008. It was around 2008.
When the Rangers were in the World Series, the 2 years they were in the World Series.
Well, that was 2010, 2011. But before 2010, before that, Silvio and I worked together at a radio station in Dallas with Mr. Belleville at one time.
Yes.
And so that's where we met. But altogether, I've been in the Dallas-Fort Worth market for about 42 years on the air. And of those 42 years, yes, I've worked in radio. I have done television. I have done anything from high school to college to professional sports. I've done play-by-play. I have done talk shows. I've worked with professional ball players with their talk shows, such as Everson Walls, Tony Hill, Andre Gerard, Eugene Lockhart. I can go on and on and on. The list is almost endless. But and I've been covering the Texas Rangers either with a camera in my hand, because that's how I started. I started in media with a camera. And then I found out that a microphone was a lot lighter than a 300 millimeter lens. But I've been covering the Rangers literally they've been together 52 years in Texas. I've been covering them for the better part of 40 years.
Wow.
So
I've
had fun.
You never interviewed Ted Williams?
No, I never interviewed Ted Williams.
A lot of people don't know. I just wanted to bring that up because the other day on one of the coverages on Fox covering the Rangers and the Orioles, one of the announcers brought this up, that Ted Williams had been the first manager of the Rangers back in '72. And it's like, a lot of people don't know that.
Nope.
That he was the first manager, because he came here with the Washington team.
It.
That's what happened.
That's it. He showed up when Washington moved to North Texas, and he was the manager. But yeah, not many people know the Splendid Splinter was a manager. The problem with that was, and I don't know if many people remember this, that was a strike shortened season in '72. We had the players' strike in '72, so the season got shortened to 152 games instead of 162, and the Rangers won 52 games that year.
That's right.
That's all they won. They lost 100.
That was a rough year. I was not in Texas, but I was following baseball nevertheless.
Yeah.
And I remember that was a rough year.
In a bad stadium.
Yes, that was a rough year for the Rangers. And I remember they had an infielder who stole a lot of bases that year.
In '72?
Yeah, I can't think of the name right now. But he was a very fast runner. And he was
Toby at second that year, and we had
Toby Harrell?
Randolph, wasn't it? Randall. Randall was his last name, and that's the one that sucker punched
Lenny Randall. Lenny Randall.
Yeah, Lenny Randall. He sucker punched
the manager,
Frank Lucchese.
Right, the man. Yeah, that's right. But that was really a horrible year. And the other thing too, that little trivia question that gets a lot of people, that Nolan Ryan was in the stadium for the very first game with the Angels, and in the very last game as a Ranger, because he opened the
ballpark and he closed the ballpark.
That's right. So he was there for both. I mean, that's I guess another example of his longevity, as they like to say. But I was thinking about you so much because we had so much fun when we've talked baseball in the past, and you are a native Texan. You grew up here, and how does it feel to know that no matter what happens, the World Series will be in Texas? That's really cool, I think, to think of that. The two Texas teams, obviously we have our favorites, the Rangers, sure. but the idea that the World Series will be in Texas is really cool, I think.
Well, for the longest time, when the Houston Astros were in the National League,
right,
we always dreamt of a World Series between the Astros and the Rangers.
Right.
That's what we dreamt of. That I-45 battle between the two teams. Now, here we are in the American League Championship Series, and we have the I-45 battle. And I think and I got family, I got friends. In fact, Silvio, you know, the former owner of the radio station has a restaurant down in Houston called Taste of Texas.
Okay.
I'm talking about Ed Hindy.
Okay, not the lieutenant governor. You mean Ed?
Well, no. His business partner. The other guy.
All right, yeah.
Who has a restaurant down in Houston called the Taste of Texas. Ed Hindy was a partner for the radio station KVCE 1160.
That's right.
I'm going to try to contact him because he's a huge Astro fan. I mean, humongous Astro fan. I'm going to try to contact him, and I'm going to put a little wager on this series. Now, here's the deal. I'm banking on the Rangers winning because I want that free meal down to Taste of Texas.
Well, you know what? I think that the Rangers are very much capable of winning this thing. Everybody keeps talking about the season record and those last 3 games that were played here in Glove Life Field, where the Astros destroyed the Rangers. But the Rangers didn't have their whole team that day. I mean, in that series,
they had a lot of guys.
A lot of guys were injured. Yeah.
Well, in that matchup against Houston, hang on a second. Yep, the matchup, the dream matchup. Justin Verlander versus Max Scherzer. Teammates at one time for the New York Mets. The New York Mets went through a garage sale. They let go of a lot of people. Those two pitchers Verlander went back to Houston after spending time in Detroit and then later in New York. Max Scherzer, who he really does like being in North Texas. He said so. He's really embraced it. But he comes to Texas because Chris Young was able to talk him into it. And that first game, Scherzer gets injured.
Right.
Scherzer has to go on the IL. So we never really got to see the full potential of what Max Scherzer can do. Well, now here we are. He's back in health. Wednesday, Thursday.
Is he going to pitch? I mean, has
Friday,
he officially been put on the roster?
There's talk that he's doing simulated game right now.
Okay, yeah, right.
They throw in simulated game. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Series starts Saturday in Houston. I don't see him starting game 1 and or 2, but game 3 when it's back here in North Texas. That's a Wednesday night, they're saying 7:05 start. In fact, Wednesday night and Thursday night both are 7:05 starts. Tickets are available, by the way. But anyway,
not too many from what I hear. Not too many though, from what I hear.
Not many. No. But they're talking about Scherzer starting one of those 2 games. I can almost see him starting game 3.
Well, that would be the logical one to start because you go with Montgomery and Eovaldi, right? And then
Eovaldi will go. Eovaldi will be on Monday or Sunday rather.
You think so? You think that he'll go over Montgomery?
Who, Eovaldi?
Do you think he'll start Eovaldi? I thought he would go with Montgomery and
Eovaldi. Because of the last outing that he had, beating the Orioles, give him more time to rest the arm. He's better when he gets the rest. I'll tell you something that really. No,
you mean let me just make sure I understood you. You're saying that Eovaldi would start because the first game is Sunday night, and the next game is Monday afternoon. But I'm saying Montgomery Sunday night, Eovaldi Monday afternoon. You're saying the other way?
No. I'm saying just the way you have it written out.
Okay, all right.
No, just the way you have it scripted out. Because you want Eovaldi with that extra rest.
Sure.
Now, let me say this. Opening day this year, they play against the Phillies. They fall behind early, and then all of a sudden the roof caves in on the Phillies, and the Rangers explode. Before the game, there's the gaggle of media people, and we're down on the field. Now, I was not there for 2020 because of COVID, even though they played games and they had the World Series and the LA Dodgers and all that, and we know the story. So I didn't go to any of those games, but I got credentialed for 21 and 22. And we're in the Woodward years. Chris Woodward is the manager. You still got John Daniels. So remember in August of 22, they get rid of Woody, and they let Mr. Beasley take over for a bit, who did a great job, and I'm glad he's still with the team. And then immediately, within a matter of a day or two, they get rid of John Daniels, which there are a lot of people in the media, there are a lot of people that are just fans who said the same thing. That was long overdue, long past due. They bring in Chris Young. Chris goes after Bruce Bochy. The guy's in retirement. He's been 3 years on the beach. He's golfing. He's fishing. He's, removed from the game. Yes, he's got 3 World Series rings for the San Francisco Giants. Yes, he was the manager at the helm when they beat the Rangers in 2010. But here they come and bring Bochy in. We're walking on the field. And Sylvia, I can tell you, there is an air in that stadium that you knew that day that this was something special. You knew that day, and I told anybody within earshot of me, and I've written it, I put it on my blog, that this Ranger team was going to make postseason. This Ranger team was going to make it far and deep into the postseason. I'm no soothsayer. I am no, clairvoyant, but man, I'm just saying, Bochy brought that attitude and that culture to the clubhouse. He brought it to the players, and the players all bought into it.
Right.
They bought into it.
That's right. But I'll tell you my memory of opening day, the one moment where I thought they were going to have a special year, when Robbie Grossman hit that 3-run home run to put us back in the game.
Yep.
And I mean, you're down by 9 runs or something, and they, all of a sudden you have a rally, and Robbie Grossman, because I had been advocating in the offseason that they should sign Robbie Grossman, who's a free agent, because I thought he would be the perfect addition to the Rangers. And I saw that. I remember I saw that, and I said, wait a minute, these guys, there's something going on here. There's something going on here that I think is going to be special. Now, they gave us an amazing summer, and they almost made it too special. And then, of course, came all those injuries. But I always had a good feeling about this team all year long, too, because I felt that, I never got a chance to talk to Bruce, the manager, like you did, but I could just see his interviews on the radio. I love his interviews on the radio. They were I'm one of those fans who actually listens to the pregame show on the radio. Oh, yeah. And I love, the show where he's interviewed by Eric Nadel. I love that. And he's got a style that is so cool that it's like, it doesn't matter what happened. He's the same Bruce. And I think that projects to the players. So I'm not surprised, but I wrote this so that I don't forget when you were talking about thinking of a World Series between the Rangers and the Astros. There were a couple of years there when it was at least theoretically possible, and that was in 98 and 99, when both the Rangers and the Astros were in the postseason. Unfortunately, they had a problem with the Braves, and we had a problem with the Yankees, if you remember during that time, because they went down to the Braves just like we went down to the Yankees year after year. But now the Astros, that's a pretty good team too. I mean, they've got some
top to bottom.
That is a solid team. And Dusty Baker, I think he was able to hold them together with all those injuries, Dave.
Not only was he able to hold it together, but he moved his players in and out from the minor leagues. He put together kind of a pipeline for the team. And, from AA Corpus Christi to the AAA, which is up in Tulsa, they were able to move players around in a way that he kept fresh arms on the mound. He kept fresh bats in the lineup. Now, they didn't stay in the show for very long, but long enough to keep them winning. And remember, the Rangers held first place for how many days in the summer?
What, 180? Or
almost
like
100. Well, it was 179 days.
Yeah.
179 days they were in first place. And the largest lead they had during that time period was 7.5 games over Houston. And remember, Houston at one time fell to third place,
right,
behind Seattle. And, you were talking about the Philly game, the opening day. By the way, just to let everybody know, yes, I still do it old school, baby.
Yes.
Old school.
That's it.
When I'm it's funny. you're at the game. They hand you a score sheet. You can keep the score because they have all the lineup and everything. I'll sit there and do this. I had one of the guys, and shows you the difference between an old guy and a new guy. This kid had to be about, I don't know. I'll give him a benefit of the doubt. I'll say he's at least 30. Might be a little younger, but at least 30. And he asked me flat out, and he says, "Why in the world do you do this?" And I looked at him and said, "Well, first of all, if you notice, I use pencil instead of a pen because I like to argue with the official scorer. You know, he might call it an error. I might see it as a hit." So in any case, opening day, going into the fourth inning, the Phillies were up 4-0.
Right.
Okay. Bottom of the fourth, Rangers come to bat and they send 9, 10, 11, they send 12 batters to the box and destroy the Phillies. In fact, Aaron Nola started the game. He only went, I believe, he went 2 1/3 innings, which is about the same as Jacob deGrom. He went 3 2/3
right
to start the game.
But was that the inning when Grossman hit the home run?
Everybody hit a home run almost.
No, I know, but his home run was really key to putting them back.
Yeah, but, let's see. Grossi hit a shot
to right center.
Let's see. Who started the inning?
Deep by the bullpen.
Corey Seager started off with a single, then came back with a walk later in the inning. Nate Lowe grounded out, came back with a single and a score. Adolis Garcia singled, scored in the at one point, and then he was the last out. Josh Young walked, scored. Jonah Heim doubled, scored. Robbie Grossman hit a 3-run blast.
Right. That's what I remember. That moment is what really hit me on opening day because they had fallen behind to the National League champs, the Phillies. And I said, "Oh gosh, this is going to be another long year." But then that home run really put me back. Now let me kind of go a couple of topics here.
He scored 8 runs in that inning.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
Yeah,
it was amazing. I remember texting. I went to get some pizza. I remember that day because we had one of our sons over or whatever, and I remember texting my other son that Robbie Grossman had just hit a 3-run homer, and it was a lot of fun. Now let me bring up. You mentioned, I wrote this down too. I want to make sure I say it. Sometimes when I'm doing these conversations, I write things down because you remind me of something.
Sure.
John Daniels. Chris Young has done a fantastic job. Nothing to take away from him, but there's a lot of John Daniels on that field. I mean, when you look at first base, second base, I know they signed those too, but first base, the third base, the catcher, some of the outfielders. There's a lot of John Daniels on that club. I'm not saying that maybe a change wasn't necessary, but he left his mark on this team.
I won't take anything away from John Daniels. John Daniels, nucleus of this team. You're right. Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. Those were John Daniels signings. Nathaniel Lowe.
That was a trade with Tampa.
Right. And his brother is still playing. Which nothing like having siblings on the field at the same time.
I bet that must have been a lot of fun to see those two on the field.
I mean, you can see it. It was plain as day. That there's a lot of competition, but it's still brotherly love.
Right. But think of another couple of players. Heim, you mentioned Jonathan Heim. Yeah. That he came from the A's in that trade for Elvis. That's right. Remember. And then Adolis Garcia was just a pickup from the Cardinals. They literally had let him go.
He was an afterthought.
Yeah, and we picked him. I remember when they picked him up, and the reason that I was attracted to him is, as you know, I was born in Cuba, and I was attracted to the fact that he was going to be a Cuban player on the team. But look at what he's turned out to be. He's turned out to be a power hitter of tremendous proportions. And then the center fielder, he's another Daniels, the product, the third baseman.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of him on there. Not taking anything away from Chris Young. I'm just saying.
No, but I mean, look, okay, now you're right. John Daniels did a great job. Then you bring Chris Young in, and Chris Young gets you. Remember, he's the one that went after Scherzer. in Montgomery.
Oh yeah.
And
No
you know,
question.
and then we bring up this young kid,
Carter.
Carter, Evan Carter, who has just, does he know he's a rookie? Does he have any idea he's a rookie?
He probably
I've
still
never
thinks
seen the
this is
poise.
AAA.
I've never seen the poise like this.
Right.
He has surprised the daylights out of me, as well as some other people.
Right.
Because you just don't expect that from somebody like that.
No, and that's one of the things that the manager has said about him. That
right.
He
Rookie of the year, by the way, if they don't put Josh Young in the category for Rookie of the Year, somebody's asleep at the wheel.
Right.
All-Star, first year in, he's an
Right.
All-Star. Look how many All-Stars the Rangers had this year.
6, right? Yeah.
6 All-Stars. Because you had Heim, Young, Garcia, Seager, Simeon, I think. So, you know, your second and shortstop, Evaldi.
Yes. No, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was an amazing season. I will predict to you today, I'll go on record, I think the Rangers are going to win in 7. Now, a lot of people are saying that that's just that I'm just being a fan. Well, I am a fan.
Sure.
But I also feel that you cannot look at that series in early September as any measurement of the value of the Rangers. The Rangers were not their whole team that day. And so I think the Rangers are going to win in 7. I really do. I believe that if you can get Evaldi to start 2 games, that's 2 victories for me. And Montgomery should win 1 game. So then that takes you to whoever is going to win the 4th game. It could be John Gray or it could be Max Scherzer. I mean, it could be any one of those 2. Or it could be Cody Bradford. There's another rookie. Another rookie. You know, one of the things, Dave, that bothered me about, and I think it was more ignorance than partisanship. I don't think they were trying to be critical, but the announcers on Fox kept talking about all the young players that the Orioles have, and they do. I mean, it's an amazing collection of young players. Nobody denies that. But I kept saying to myself, the third baseman, the left fielder, one of the pitchers in the bullpen. These are rookies too, and 2 of those guys. I mean, Jung could win it this year, Rookie of the Year. Carter could very well be the Rookie of the Year in 2024, Dave.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, I'll tell you, and I'm as honest as I can be. When Bochy named Jose Leclerc as his closer, I can't tell you how. I mean, I'm a heart patient. This is not a good thing to tell me because I'm not sure what he's going to do in the long run. Apologies.
No problem.
Sinus infection has caused
no
problems.
problem. Thank God for the mute button, isn't it? Isn't that a great button?
I love that button.
Yes. No problem. We understand. We understand.
Here we go.
You ready?
But anyway, laughing does not do me any good.
Right.
Jose Leclerc has now. I mean, am I totally? Have I gotten over to that side yet? Yeah, not yet. He gave up a 3-run shot in Baltimore.
Right.
You have 11-5 lead, and you give up a 3-run shot. Next thing you know, you're 11-8. Nah, I don't like that. So,
well, the only good news is that there were 2 outs.
Yes,
that was the only good news. Is that you had a couple of outs in that inning. But let me, because we're going to do another one of these when we're talking World Series in a couple of weeks. But
okay.
But so just make a date with me for a couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure we're going to get there. But
okay,
a couple of issues that I wanted to bring up. You mentioned Seager.
Yep.
I think Seager should be the MVP. I'm not sure if he will get it, but he should be because he has been the most valuable player. If the definition is valuable player for a team, I got to go with Seager. But that's not always how they look. So what do you think?
With Ohtani going down with the injury late in the season, I don't know if that lowered his stock any because Ohtani was still the MVP. What he did on the mound, what he does with the bat, you can't take that away from him. You know, that is a valuable player. Seager, injuries aside, has boosted this team. I mean, just look at what he's done for the season. Look what he's done for the playoffs. There's a guy that walked 5 times in a game. It's never been done before in Major League Baseball.
That was unbelievable. I didn't realize that was the first time that it had ever happened.
Yeah.
But I believe it. It was. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, you're right. I don't know if he's going to get it, though, simply because, like you said, you know, Ohtani had such an amazing year.
Yeah.
He's such a publicity. I mean, the publicity. Seager is not a publicity person.
No.
I mean, you've probably have seen him on, I'm sure, on the field when you go down there before the game. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who looks for you.
Nope.
He strikes me as a very quiet guy. He'll answer questions. He's nice, but he's not the kind of guy. He's not saying, "Okay, I want to get a headline out today. Let me find somebody to talk to." He doesn't strike me as that kind of player.
He never uses the word "I."
Yes,
it's never "I." It's team, we, them, us. It's never "I." He is, right. And he's very, very humble.
By the way, another trade of John Daniels was bringing Dunning here. That was another trade, and we traded him for Lance Hill. Was it Hill, who is now pitching for the Dodgers? He was the one who gave up 4 home runs last night. But he was a pretty good pitcher, actually, with the Rangers that year. He pitched really well. And I still like him a lot, but that was another trade, bringing Dunning here in, what was it, 2021 or whenever it was. Okay, there's one big topic. We have a few minutes, but there's one big topic. Everybody in baseball is talking about this, and that is what is happening to these 100-win teams. Whether it's the Dodgers, who went down last night, whether it was the Rays got to 99 wins, I think, and the Orioles got to 101. The Braves on the brink of being eliminated. What is going on? My theory is, and I obviously want to hear yours, is that the short series is different than a regular season. You play 162 games, and if you're built to win, you're going to win 100 games. But during the season, you're going to have series where you go, or periods or weeks where you go 3 out of 7, or you win 4 out of 10, something like that. Whereas you cannot afford to do that in the postseason. And maybe that's the problem, that it's not so much that they rested too much. Maybe it's just that they just got some bad luck. They just weren't ready, or they caught them at the bad moment. That's my analysis of it, Dave. I'm anxious to hear what you think.
Well, let's take a look at that for a second. When you're a top seed and you're waiting for wild card teams to finish a 3-game set, then they come and play you. So you've been waiting for the last day of the season. Then you got to wait for that 3-game series to end. And now, in the 3-game series, it's the best of. So you're winning 2 games out of 3. So if you win them on the road, like the Rangers did, then you come and play Baltimore. Then you got to fly from, Tampa up to Baltimore and take on the Orioles. And I mean, I look at it this way. Rest is good, but momentum is better. And when you have a momentum like the Rangers did, I mean, they what was it? It was the Houston papers that criticized the Rangers for partying and popping champagne, just because they made a wild card shot. My theory is, and I'm not knocking the Astros, and I'm not going to berate them for anything they write, because that's just good. That's bulletin board stuff. That's good stuff. But in the same breath, Baltimore, where the Rangers had to go fly to, remember, the Rangers played, what was it, 4 games? 3 games in California in against the Angels, and then 4 games in Seattle. And then they had to play 2 games in Tampa and 2 games in Baltimore. They hadn't been home for like 16 days.
Right. And they didn't have a day off, by the way.
No.
In that last series, that last home series here against Seattle, I think, and then came California. There was no day off. So
no, they did not. They did not have a day. In fact, I'm sitting here looking at the schedule.
No, they didn't have a day off. And to top it, to make it even worse, the Thursday night game in with the Angels, or the Wednesday night game, was a night game. A lot of times you get to play in the afternoon to travel at night. So I mean,
but literally you're going from LA to Seattle.
That's not an easy trip. I mean, that's what,
no,
5
but it's
hours?
not. But it's not like going cross country.
Well, sure, I agree with that.
You know, you're going up the coast. So you know what would be average 2-hour flight from LA to Seattle versus 3.5 to 4 hour flight going from Dallas to LA.
Yeah, no, it was brutal, and I was actually listening to that last game in Seattle. For some reason, we lost the TV signal. I don't know what happened. And I was actually listening to the radio. And when Carter gets on to lead off the top of the ninth, I said, oh, great. This is going to be a comeback. Great. And then, you know, they go down 1, 2, 3.
Right.
And they lose the game.
They leave
and I'm saying, man, this is not good. And then they have to go to play Tampa. But anyway, we are here. They're going to be playing in the LCS. And I'd like you to set a date maybe in a couple of weeks to talk about the Rangers again, because I do believe in my heart, not just as a fan, but I really believe they're going to go to the World Series. Who they're going to play, I'm not sure, because the National League is a little crazy right now. It could be, I guess, Philadelphia, Arizona. I don't think it's going to be Arizona. I think it's either going to be Philadelphia or Atlanta, one of those two. But anyway, so your thoughts on what's happened to these 100 win teams and why they've gone down? Is it just bad luck or what?
It's all about momentum. You have the day off. You got the days off. You're rested. You got your players feeling good about themselves. The aches and the pains are starting to recede. But you got a team coming in that is hot, and they're hot at the right time.
Right. Like Philadelphia last year. I mean, remember Philadelphia last year? They went in. I remember watching last year on the Sunday before the end of the season. So I guess, 5 days before the end of the season, Philadelphia was almost eliminated.
Right.
I mean, they were on the brink of elimination, I think, the last week of the season in 2022. And then they beat the Cardinals, and look at where they went. So I agree with you about momentum, but do you think they're going to change anything for next year as far as the days off?
For the playoffs?
Yeah, for the playoffs.
No.
I mean, do you think they're going to leave it the way it is?
You're talking about Manfred, who's I mean, this is a guy that put in. I'm not going to take anything away from some of the rule changes because some are good. Some are good. I mean, the clock on for the pitchers, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you get out of the game at 2 hours and 40 minutes, 2 hours and 28 minutes. I like that. That's not a problem. But Manfred's rules overall, I don't know if the larger base made any difference in steals. I don't know if
hard to tell.
Yeah, I can't see it.
I can't see
it because you still got to go from catcher to second, and you still got to put the glove on the body. And whether that base is 3 inches more toward first, I don't think it made a difference.
I don't think so either, because you're right. You still have to make the run, and I don't think so. Now the shift did make a difference, and I thought for the good reason. The clock. Here's what I tell my sons, okay? Because we had a big conversation with my sons. This is last year about the clock and the length of the games, and I said to my sons, when I was growing up watching baseball, and you and I are roughly the same generation, games used to be 2 hours and 30 minutes. I went back to the 1983 World Series and looked at the time of the 5 games between the Orioles and the Phillies. Every game was 2:30, 2:22, 2:25. So I'm saying to myself, how could they play the games that length of time back then? And why are we playing 4-hour games now? Something happened. So going back to 2:30 feels better for me.
It's called television. They wanted that time.
Maybe that or whatever it was. I'm sure you're right about that, but it just seemed to me that was a better game to watch when it was 2 hours, 30 minutes than when it's 3.5 hours.
And in National League games, the pitcher was still batting.
That's right. So
now you got a DH.
That's right. Well, those games used to be 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Right.
In the National League.
Right.
So, I mean, I actually went back. I'll just leave you with this thought. I actually went back and I wrote an article at American Thinker about the length of the games. And I went back to 1968, Game 7, Gibson versus Lolich. That was a 9-inning game, complete games on both sides. That game that put the Tigers in the World Series, that was 2 hours and 1 minute long.
With Lolich on the mound?
With Lolich.
Wow.
So maybe 229. Okay, maybe I could be wrong. I think it was 230 or 201. Whatever it was,
all right.
It was a very nice time.
It was less than 3 hours.
That's it. And I hate baseball when it goes over 3 hours. I love the game, but I didn't like those long games, particularly in the postseason, where every World Series game was 4 hours long. I didn't like that. I thought it was crazy. I remember when my sons back in the 90s, when they were younger and they had to go to school, and they couldn't watch the World Series at night because it was like midnight by the time the game was over.
Right.
And I thought that was not only bad for my sons, but it was bad for the game itself, because you weren't developing young fans.
Right.
Young fans are not going to become fans if they're sleeping when they're celebrating the World Series, Dave.
Right. And remember, it's midnight our time.
Yes.
It's 1 a.m. East time.
That's right. Well, it was crazy. Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And all I can tell you is we've got a date coming up in a couple of weeks, because I'm optimistic. I think the Rangers will be in the World Series. Even if they're not, we'll get together anyway and reminisce.
We'll talk about the Astros.
We'll talk about the Astros. And I love the Astros. I've always have. They had, Bagwell and Biggio. Those were great players that I used to love.
Back when they had
Moises absolutely. Those were absolutely great teams. Well, you have a great day, Dave. Thanks so much for joining us. And we hopefully will chat with you soon, and stay healthy and stay on the radio.
Thank you. And we'll see you all on the radio. Take care of yourselves.
All right. Thank you so much. Our good friend, Dave Michaels, always enjoyed chatting baseball with him. We go back a while, and baseball is something that I love. We also like football too, but of course today we're talking about the Rangers. I didn't want to get into the Cowboys and the quarterback controversy. Maybe we'll talk about that in a few months. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.